For much of my life, I've considered myself a pretty outgoing person. Always one of the first to volunteer, usually interested in trying something new, always excited to meet new people. I've said a couple of times on this program that I considered myself like a golden retriever puppy, all energetic and ready to go. Sure, I had my down moments, but overall, I would consider myself an optimist. If you were to go on social media right now and open up Instagram or Snapchat or something, you'll probably see people out at a bar, a show, a beach, doing something social. Things are opening back up again, and that's wonderful. COVID restrictions are loosening, travel bans are lifting, and to many people, it may seem like life is kind of going back to normal. I should be happy, right? Prior to the pandemic, I was supposed to travel and move out of the house. I was so excited to feel liberated after college and tackle certain adventures before I felt tied down to anything. Now that things are starting to look like that's possible, I can go out booking gigs again. I can go grab a drink with my friends. Maybe I could even try to go back onto the dating scene. These are all positive things happening. But why am I not excited about most of it? If anything, I'm scared. Welcome to another episode of Walsh Wednesday, the Reflective Series. On today's episode, I'm going to get candid about how the world has changed and how I changed along with it. I bring this up because I doubt I'm the only one feeling this way. If I am, so be it. But I bet there are some of you out there who are a little more hesitant and gun-shy than you were before. I'm going to tackle some of the thoughts and feelings that have been swirling around my head lately as we enter a new summer that's lined with new insecurities as much as the possibilities. All that and more happening right now. For the 30th episode, I wanted to do something special and something real personal. It's not very often where it's just you and I. I love bringing on all these guests and hearing their stories, but I also feel like there are more dialogues that can be had. So, here we are. About a year and 3 months ago, everything changed. Many of us were uprooted from our jobs, our schools, our overall way of living. We had to learn how to adapt to the isolation and try new things. For some people, if they found themselves in a safe environment, it was possibly a time for education and growth, such as picking up a new skill or whatnot. For others, it was simply trying to survive. And trying to survive while you see friends, family, and strangers on social media prosper can feel really demoralizing. There's this commercial for online therapy where 3 friends are sitting at the park and 2 keep going on about how they're in peak shape and are picking up all these extreme, wacky skills and abilities. And they finally turn to the 3rd friend and she says she's fine. That commercial really stuck out to me. Yes, I had a roof over my head, food to eat, AC in the summer, and heat in the winter. But I certainly had my demons. I've talked about all of this, but I struggled to make money and floundered to figure out new ways to create some kind of revenue. I was dealing with caring for my grandparents. I had to deal with the deaths of family members and close friends. I was forced to deal with personality traits, regrets, and insecurities that I was trying to push off to the side. I was drinking way too much. Yes, I feel like I managed to accomplish a lot in this past year, but there was a lot of surviving going on. There was a lot of rough mornings where I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to try to do anything. I know that that's most of us out there. There was a lot of going from one day to the next. And you know what? That's still something to be proud of. Without physical contact with the outside world and being forced to confront your demons head on a consistent basis is nothing to scoff at. To all you guys who did what you could in your environments and situations to survive, I'm proud of you. Kudos to you. Everyone goes through a war within themselves that no one else in the world sees. There are 8 billion little wars raging within the hearts and minds of every citizen on this planet. And the fact that you are still here, waking up, showing up, finding ways to be you, you're winning that war, even if you don't feel like you are. There is growth in steadying yourself. There is strength in not wavering, planting yourself and weathering all that comes at you is a feat like no other. You may not be getting a medal or any kind of recognition for it, but it's still something to give yourself extreme amounts of credit for. And now the world feels like it's opening back up again. And maybe you feel like me and you're like, wait a second, I'm in the middle of something, some personal, spiritual, mental growth happening here. I still got more to do. Maybe you don't feel ready to get back out into the world like you used to. Maybe you're not excited by the same things that used to really excite you. Maybe you're even scared to do it because of the fear that had risen in you because of COVID, or that it's been so long that you feel you won't be as good or you can't enjoy it and capture the magic the same way. You see all these people out there doing it, so you feel like you should do it too. But when you can't bring yourself to do it, you feel ashamed, guilty, and perhaps worthless. So I'm here to tell you, it's okay. Take your time getting back out there. There's no rush. This year has been traumatic, and we all deal with trauma differently. If during the pandemic you sealed yourself into a cocoon and it isn't your time to hatch, then don't. Do what you need to take care of you before rushing out. Because when you're ready, you're going to spread these big, beautiful wings and you're going to soar. But when you're ready. And don't buy all the stuff you see on social media. People paint an image of their lives. They don't show everything. One Friday night, you may see on 10 people's stories that they went out to a club or something. You got to remember, it feels like a lot because you're seeing it all at once. But that's only 10 people. And that's not their lives all the time. Their lives most of the time are probably really uneventful. But you just happen to see 10 people's stories all at once, and it makes you feel insecure. Don't. And then the times you get a chance to be with your friends or do something you enjoy, acknowledge the moment, take advantage of it, and appreciate it. We know how easily moments like those can be stripped away. Hone into every second of it. Now, as I'm saying, take your time getting back out there. Don't make excuses for yourself to never get out there either. Push yourself to get back into things. Slowly if you need, but surely. I'm not hopping back into gigging every weekend like I used to, but that's because my priorities have changed, and that's okay. Your priorities have probably changed too. It happens. It's natural. So don't get caught up in your head thinking, ugh, I used to do this. I wish I could be doing it exactly like that again. Priorities change. Interests change. Availabilities change. And you change. Don't beat yourself up if things aren't the exact way they were before. Be satisfied with what you're doing and the steps you're taking. As I said before, I'm not rushing out to gig, but that's because I'm working on 3 podcasts, audiobooks and voiceover work, video projects, a new album. I just joined an acting troupe, and I'm going to work at a summer camp in a couple of weeks. Like, give yourself a break, Conor. Look what you're doing. And now, take a moment to see what you are doing. When was the last time that you stopped to think about the good things you picked up during the pandemic? You may not be on the same trajectory as you were prior to COVID, but take a good look at where you are and where you are headed. If you saw someone else doing all that you were doing, you'd be impressed. If it were anyone else, you wouldn't be so hard on them. You'd probably shake your head and say, Heck yeah, look what they're doing. Hell, you'd probably be the kind of person you find yourself being jealous of. Give yourself a break. You give it to others, why not to yourself? I saw the sketch on Saturday Night Live about the conversations we'll have post-COVID and how awkward they will be. They even included each person's internal monologue and how they were screaming at themselves like, "Oh, you're so stupid. Why'd you say that? Why do I think that? That never happened." Things along those lines. I felt that was very poignant. Now, once you're back out in the world, how are you going to act? I prided myself on how smooth and charismatic I could be. Not like a Joey Tribbiani or Casanova kind of way, but I felt very comfortable in social settings. If anything, I was energized and invigorated by them. But now, I'll admit, I'm a little timid. I've been out of practice for so long, I feel like I'm not as smooth. My roommate back in college, Victor, used to call me the silver-tongued devil because I knew how to talk my way in and out of any situation. Now, I'm really not sure. I'm not thinking on my feet the same way that I used to. I feel more like a golden retriever puppy who needs to pee. Way too much anxious energy for my own good. Hell, I don't even know how to introduce myself or say hello anymore. Prior to the pandemic, I was a huge hugger or a fan of handshakes. But since the pandemic, everyone has their own preferences and feelings about physical touch, and I don't want to offend anybody. I've noticed I have no idea when it's okay to go in for a hug, a handshake, or even a fist pump. Does anyone else have this problem? I find I'll do a very awkward two-step before nervously waving my hand and keeping my distance. Even with people I've known for years. That kind of lack of contact and insecurity is such a disconnect. Something that was so inherent before is now so polarizing. And the few times I've tried to spread my wings recently, I feel like I haven't been the greatest conversationalist. I've been more hesitant to contribute to conversations, or I'd be worried about coming off too weird or too strong. And then I'll get too quiet, and then I'll wonder what the hell is wrong with me. I also thought I was really up on pop culture and had a lot of knowledge on a lot of things. Guess what? Not so much. I knew a lot for the circle that I had formed around myself during the pandemic. My world was so small, just like everybody else's. We were all closed in. It was easy to feel like a big fish in a small pond. But then when you venture out to other waters, you realize there's so much more to learn. The wiser person is the one who knows they have a lot to learn, rather than the one who thinks they know everything and refuses to take anything new in. And honestly, that was a good wake-up call. This is a lesson I've known for a while, but I needed that reminder. It makes me want to learn and explore new avenues. And when I don't know something and I'm not sure how to contribute, I don't. I listen. And that's okay. I shut up and I listen. I think that's a lesson a lot of people could use. Social media amplifies this need to just spew. It gives everyone a voice, a soapbox to preach from, if you will. How many of these people are actively listening rather than spinning out whatever they feel or comes to their head? You can learn a lot from sitting back, finding a new perspective, and listening. So if you feel uncomfortable with social settings, you feel like you're being awkward in most of your conversations, and you're not sure how to act in public anymore, don't worry. Most of us don't anymore. I think enough of us have that understanding that we are still readjusting. And I think that opens things up to have deeper dialogues than we had before. If there is one good thing that may come out of this time period, it is the desire to talk, the desire to express, the desire to communicate and connect, because for over a year, we have been presented with barrier after barrier and have had to bottle up everything. Of course we had technology, but it's not the same. To be there across from someone, hear them laugh, to be able to reach out and touch them, to make that connection. It's like nothing else. Humans are social creatures, and in recent years, we did disconnect from instinct and nature. We hid behind phones, computers, and whatnot, and we made excuses. And then, when physical connection was taken away, we realized how much we really longed for it. So, as we're all getting back out into the world, be kind to others, because we all went through a lot. Be more patient. Be more understanding. Be all the things you hope people will be towards you. And be kind to yourself. We're all a little more timid, awkward, and out of practice with a number of things. But we'll work on it together. I know talking about this right now has helped me. I hope this has helped spark a conversation in yourself. I hope it helps spark a conversation with those around you. If this doesn't bring clarity, I hope this at the least helps you find the right questions to ask. As I mentioned before, I'm going to work at the summer camp I worked at for 7 years growing up. I loved this place. And I've been given more responsibilities with my new position at the camp. Because of COVID and health regulations, how the camp will run will be very different though. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared. I'm scared I won't be able to do as well of a job as I did in the past. I'm afraid I won't be as good with the kids. I'm afraid I'll screw up protocol. But you know what? I have a strong feeling that this job and this summer are imperative in my journey to continue my growth, and it will lead me directly into what's next. I have no idea what the future holds, but that's the magic to it. I'm going to leave you on this. In the final Night at the Museum movie, Ben Stiller's Larry Daly says, "I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow." And the late Robin Williams, as Teddy Roosevelt says, reassuringly, "How exciting." Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Walsh Wednesday, the Reflective Series. Remember, there's always another story to learn, adventure to have, and growth to be embraced. As always, I'm Conor Walsh, and I'm glad we get to spend some time.